I just want to have just a brief conversation about how we build servers. I know, we don't have any back-end devs here. Everybody's front-end, and I don't know. Anybody like to build servers here? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. All right. Pleasantly surprised. All right. So, what is a server? A server is just something that gives you responses, right? You send it requests and you get responses, right? Servers come in all kinds of forms these days. Database servers, you can probably still rent a VPS somewhere. Lots of people are running workers, right? These like short-lived things. They kind of feel like servers, but they're, you like pay per use. So it's not like a long-running server. It's more just like a worker. We've got these things in the browser called service workers. Then they're kind of like little servers if you look at them, right? Like they get requests and they return responses, just like servers do. So it's kind of this like nebulous term, right? And you should be able to run your app like in any one of those environments. You should be able to run your backend, on a traditional server. You should be able to run it on the edge in a Cloudflare worker or in a Fastly worker. You should be able to run it in a service worker. So we're gonna, part of the ethos of Remix is that we're building tools so that you can run them wherever makes sense for your app, whatever makes sense for your app architecture. And so we're building on primitives that we get from the web. So let's talk about some of those primitives. So let's say that I've got like a really basic server here. Let's say I've got like a handle fetch function. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a request and I'm going to return a new response. I want to get some HTML in here. Yeah, how about that? We'll call this like our home page. And then, yeah, we'll make it HTML. Okay, so what APIs are we working with here? We're working with request, and we're working with this other thing called response. So these are actually APIs that came from the fetch spec, which is an API that first appeared in the browser. A lot of you probably used it on the server. You've used it in Node. It's not that new. But we see this pattern, and we see it again and again and again, of APIs appearing on the web, and they make their way back to the server, okay? The web is the king of JavaScript, for better or for worse, okay? I didn't make the rules. That's just how it works, okay? You don't see, I'll tell you what you don't see. You don't see bespoke Node.js APIs showing up in the browser, right? You don't see, http.createServer showing up in the browser. You see request and response and fetch showing up in Node, okay? So that's the direction that JavaScript goes. JavaScript standards get adopted first, in ECMA. They get implemented in browsers. They make their way back to the servers, okay? So we're working with these request response primitives for better or for worse. And that entails a lot, by the way. They've got their own like streaming formats, and they've got their own binary formats. You want me to make my text bigger? Is that too big? How's that? Is that good? Is that a good compromise? Cool, thank you. So how on earth are we going to serve this thing? Well, if we're using a modern JavaScript runtime like Bun is so fast. Okay, cool. Let's just change in our port here. Actually, no, I don't have a port variable. Let's 44100. Okay. Okay, cool. So Bun is kind of a newer entrant into the JavaScript server space. We can say bun server.tsx. We can boot our server. Anybody know what 44100 is? Hey, there you go. Thank you. Okay. All right. So we're running our fetch server. We're running it in Bun. So modern JavaScript runtimes, Bun, Dino, Cloudflare workers, they all use this API for their servers. What if we're still running in Node? How can we run this this handler in Node. So what if we're using Node HTTP? How can we run this function? So what I've got down here is I've got a server, which is an HTTP create server. And so we're going to pull in this thing called createRequestListener. And as I already said earlier today, I'm pulling from a bunch of different libraries today. This is not the intended user experience for Remix. We're still in the prototyping stage, but this is one of the libraries that fills one of those holes, okay? Node.fetch server is actually a library that we're using today in production on React Router. But this is just a library that lets you build servers using the fetch API for Node. So they all have these really like very obvious names. Oh, the Node fetch server. Yeah, that's what it is. All right, cool. So we can. Oh, I'm not even booting this. Hold on, let me. That was fake. I'm actually going to run everything else in. I'm just going to use TSX, so I can run TypeScript and JSX on Node. All right. Cool, so let's verify our app still works. Nice. Okay, so we can run request and response-based servers on Node. Cool, problem one solved. We're going to be doing a lot of HTML today, so I'm actually going to pull in a little HTML helper because this is going to get old. Type in this headers every time. So we've got a little HTML helper. I'm going to use another package that I've been working on called FetchRouter. By the way, one other thing that I'll say today is that a lot of the stuff that Ryan showed is we don't actually have stable releases of any of the UI stuff. We do actually have stable releases of everything that I'm going to show you today. So if you do want to, like, I don't know, play with any of this stuff, be on the cutting edge, it's all part of the Remix repo. And we've got stable releases of everything that I'm going to show you today. And it's and benchmarked and test, et cetera. You can check it out there. So let's and then the front end stuff is coming along as well. We'll have stable releases of that stuff too shortly. Okay, so all my HTML helper is going to do is it's just going to add that content type, and it's going to give me a response back. Okay. Okay, so pretty basic. So let's introduce some routing. Let's say we want to have some routes, and I'm just going to like start real basic, right? So we've been doing routing for a little bit. We built a router before. There are a couple of principles that I think are really important in routing, and a couple of things like, that I built the fetch router on, that we built the fetch router on, that we wanted to make sure we're in the fetch router. One of those things is names, okay? So names that you get to decide. So you get to decide the name of this route. You can call it your home, you can call it your home page, you can call it whatever you want. And then what I'm going to have is I'm going to have another object of handlers. And I'm going to basically just going to have these two objects that mirror the shape of each other so that, the home route invokes the home handler. Okay? So pretty basic. Let me go back in here and let's say this function gets a request. And I'm going to get the URL. Another web API that made its way to the server, the URL API. What I'm going to say is if the URL path name is that home route, then go ahead and serve the home handler, okay? We're not doing this here. We're doing HTML. Come on. Yeah, how about one of those? I'm so lazy now. I just like sit there and wait for a second. Like, come on, you can get it. All right. Okay, cool. So we go to the home route. We see that. We go to literally anything else, and we're not found. Cool. Routing, baby. All right. Let's add a few more routes. Let's have like a blog index route. Let's /blog. We'll have a blog post route. We don't know how to do this yet. Let's just have let's just hard code this for now. Okay, so we'll have something called like hello remix. We'll say we have one post. So let's go ahead and make those pages. I'm gonna call this, I'm just gonna say blog posts. This is gonna be like a list of all my blog posts, and then I'm gonna make another one down here where I'm actually gonna like show the post. Okay. So again, just some basic HTML pages, but we're just keeping these two objects kind of in the same shape. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some more routes down here. I'm going to say if we're at the blog index route, I want you to show that thing. If we're at the blog post route, I want you to show that thing. If, else, if, right? Blog. Work. Cool. I can go to blog, hello, remix. Hello, remix. Sweet. Nothing too amazing, nothing too fancy, but notice the one thing that we said was important. You get to choose the names of all your routes, which means you get to refer to them by name. We're going to see why that's important coming on later on. You don't just speak about them in terms of URLs, you speak about them in terms of names that you give them. So one thing we want to do is, we're not just always serving static data. We want to have like an ID coming in here into this route, right? This thing is like a, like a dynamic piece of the URL. And then, how are we gonna do that? So we've actually built something called RoutePattern. So RoutePattern is another library that we're building on. It's like Ryan said, we went all the way down to the base of the mountain, and we're starting at the very bottom, and we're building everything on the way back up. Okay. So I want to just talk about this RoutePattern library for just a second. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to wrap each of these. I'm going to say you're a RoutePattern, and you're a RoutePattern, and you're a RoutePattern, and you're a RoutePattern. All right. So everybody's a RoutePattern now. What do these things do? Let me just talk about these real quick. Let's say I've got a new RoutePattern. They've got this method on them called match. Right? So I can take this pattern, I can match it against a URL. Let me just show you what we get back when we match one of those things. And then I'll just exit. There we go. All right, so let's check it out in our console down here. Okay. Oh, I wish I could just bump that up without bumping everything. But anyway. Okay, so I could match a route that's like blog/ID. And then, the ID portion is gonna match this here. I could say, hello remix. I could say goodbye React. Yeah, okay, cool. That works too. All right. I could, add an optional like .html on here. Right. So if somebody uses, and this is where I don't want it to be so big. If somebody adds the optional .html, not a big deal. I can actually come in here and I can like specify a full URL. So one of the things that separates RoutePattern from some of the alternatives, this isn't just like path to regex. We're not just matching on path names. We're matching on the full URL, right? So you can do things like virtual hosts. You can do things like say, hey, the S is optional. So if somebody hits my route with HTTP, like I still match, right? Maybe I want to redirect HTTP to HTTPS or something like that, right? So we could match on like the subdomain, right? So let's say I'm serving up like, subdomains, and it's optional. So like you can give it to me. If it's not there, it's undefined, or you can give it to me. You can say www. We'll match the subdomain now, right? So these route patterns are super flexible. These parentheses indicate like optional groups in your URL. You could even do like some pretty advanced stuff. So if let's say you had like some like API that you're building, and it has to be followed by, like maybe you have the version number in the URL, but maybe you don't. So we're going to make that optional. And maybe the major version number is followed by a dot and a minor version number. In either case, it needs to be followed by /users and then an optional extension on there. Sure. So somebody hits your app with, /API/ v2.1/users.json, and you can parse all that out of the URL. Maybe they left out the .1, and now the minor version is undefined and the major version is v2. Maybe they left out the .json. Maybe they left out the whole v2 segment, and now it's all undefined, and your URL is like super clean, right? So these route patterns are actually pretty powerful. One of the things that we did in Remix v1 that I was not a huge fan of is and I apologize for this, we made you put all of your route patterns in file names. Oh. What's the file name for that? I don't know. I mean, it's just like, it's very difficult to have that level of expressivity on the file system, right? Because you have a limited number of characters that you can use. We've actually already started going in this direction. If you're a React Router user, we have routes.ts, so you can express all of your routes in code. That's where they belong. That's where they need to be. So your routes are going to be in code in Remix 3, and I'll show you what that looks like. But yeah, you have a lot of power with these route patterns, a lot of expressivity. I mentioned at the beginning that we're along the way as we're building all these primitives, we're benchmarking everything from the ground up. So RoutePattern is at least as fast as path to regexp. Obviously, a lot more expressivity. It's way faster than path to regexp if you get up into like thousands of routes. You know, a large app. Some of you might be familiar with the Find My Way library. We're in the same neighborhood as Find My Way, and those guys are blazing fast. So we're doing our homework. We're running our benchmarks at every step of the way. But that's a little bit about RoutePattern and the kind of route patterns that you're going to be able to use. So let's get back to our app. So each one of these things is a route pattern. So let's head down into here, and we're not just doing these string comparisons now. Now we're doing things like, you know, using that match function to match on these URLs. Oh, you know what? Sorry. I forgot something. The other thing that I was going to show you is how to generate an href. I could say, yeah. So these route patterns go both ways, okay? So if you're gonna match on a URL, you're essentially like parsing the URL, right? What is the bookend to parsing is stringify, right? JSON parse, JSON stringify. Pattern.match is parse. Pattern.href is stringify. And this is a type safe stringify, so you know, if you try and pass foo in here, it's going to be like, what are you talking about, man? You said you needed ID in your route pattern, right? You don't have ID, you don't have foo up there, right? So you get type safe URL generation as well. Okay, so we're going to match these things, and then what we really want to do is, this is going to be a little bit messy, but you know, what I really want is I want to get a match out of here. If that thing matches, because that one's actually got params, right? That's interesting. So I'm gonna capture that bit of data, and I'm gonna send that through to my route handler. The blog post route here, let's just say it gets like a thing that looks like this. Sure, yeah, that's what it'll look like. Okay, so now instead of you know, just one object, we're going to send like this bag of stuff. We're going to send in the original request, and we're also going to send in like some stuff that we matched in the URL that you match. We can come down in here and we could say, hey, let's put in some dynamic data in there, right? Let's refresh that. Hello Remix. Hello Shopify. Cool. So we've got a little sort of dynamic piece of the URL. Very cool. How else can we improve this router? So what else do I need when I'm routing? Usually I need like some middleware, right? That's pretty important to be able to extend the router. People can plug things in. They can plug in auth and logging and stuff like that. Something else that I'm noticing is this router is going to get pretty verbose. Like these keys are already, you know, kind of repetitive. You can imagine as I'm adding more and more URLs and more features to my app, this thing is just going to keep growing and growing. It'd be nice if I could like have some kind of like nested syntax, right? Like blog that. These are the blog routes. And then this is like the index page, and this is the post page, right? So I've got like this kind of nested structure that's a little more descriptive. And then we want middleware as well. So if we start going down this path, the matching is obviously going to get more complex. We're going to bring in a helper. We're going to bring in a helper called route, and route is actually going to help us out. It's going to just create a little route map for us, and we're going to do away with these route patterns. And if you check out routes is just a map of all the routes in my app. Okay. You heard about earlier in the admin, they wanted to be able to like statically analyze all the routes in the app. They didn't even know how many routes they had at one point, right? You'd ask them, they'd be like, I don't know how many routes I have. It's nice to have like a type-safe visualization of all the routes in your app, right? So that's your route map. Your route map tells you everything that you've got in the app, all the URLs that you can hit. We don't need RoutePattern anymore. We're gonna thank you, RoutePattern, for your service. But all of these things are route patterns, right? And these routes have the ability to match on the URL. We're going to come down here. We're going to make sure that we maintain the same shape of this object. Remember, we said we wanted to be the same shape. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And then we're going to say this one is index and this one is the post page. Okay. So we preserve the same shape between these two objects. And then what I'm going to do down here is I'm going to wrap all that stuff up into a router. Oops. Let's bring that in. And then what I'm going to say is I'm going to say, router, I want you to map these routes to these handlers. Okay? It's like I'm taking two sides of the sandwich and I'm smashing them together. I got some routes here. I got some implementation for those routes over here. I'm going to smash them together. Okay? One of the things that you heard this morning, also from the team that was working on the admin, is that they not only were they doing static analysis of the routes, but they were also dynamically loading the code for portions of the route tree that they needed to execute. So dynamically loading that loader, for example, to get the form definition that they needed to generate their sidekick forms, things like that, right? So the point of keeping these things separate is we've got route definition separate from implementation. Okay, the implementation is all of your runtime code. The implementation is all of your middleware, all of your dependencies, the stuff that you're pulling in. Your route map is a static description of what routes are available in the app. Okay, this is like the second principle that I think is super, super important. Okay, so the first one is you want to have names, human-friendly names for the routes in your app. Second one is keep route definition separate from route implementation. That's gonna pay huge dividends for us in the future. You'll notice I've got some red squigglies here. It's like, what is going on? Like, I don't understand. Sorry. It does understand. It understands perfectly fine. What I've got is what I can do now is I can actually I can set up some inference here for these handlers. So I can bring in this route handlers type. I can say, look, this object here is just supposed to be the handlers for the routes that for these routes that we told you about. Okay. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete that. So the arg that you get into your handlers is the request context. Okay. You'll notice that, we said our blog post route gets this ID param. Previously, we were typing it manually. If we just use a satisfies clause or constraint on this object, we know the exact type of the params that we're getting. Okay, so we're parsing it out of the URL. Here's your params types. Okay, so strong types all the way throughout the app. And now this is really easy. We're just going to say return router.fetch. Oh, geez. Sometimes I get into trouble when I just rely on tab. We said we wanted to stick some middleware in there, right? Let's throw some middleware in there. Ship a little logger middleware. Okay, cool. So we got logs coming out here. Let's go back to the posts page. Let's go back to the home page. All right, so we got support for middleware. We kind of nested our route structure, right? So it's less verbose, less repetitive. And we got some type safety automatically flowing through now to the handlers. Okay, so we're climbing the mountain again, right? These are all things that we want on our way up the mountain. Some of you might be looking at this point and thinking, Michael, you're killing me. Why are we still doing HTML? Ryan just showed us these components. Like, can you give me some components, please? Can you give me some JSX? You're killing me. Okay, all right, fair enough. Let's do some JSX. So how are we going to do JSX? So we're gonna bring in a function called renderToStream. Where have I seen that before? Oh yeah. So we can server render these these remix elements, and you just pass us a remix element, give us an optional response, and all we're going to do is render that thing to a stream. This is a readable stream, right? The readable stream, you can pass that to the response constructor, so we can just pass that straight through to our HTML. We just compose them together, right? Readable stream gives us stream, HTML stream from a remix element. And then you can pass us some whatever you want. So it's just a little wrapper around renderToStream. Let's come down here. Let's refactor some of these things. So I want to make this thing a render. I want to get rid of the strings, man. That's a bummer. Okay, cool. We're in business here. Let's do the other two. Yeah, I want to do that. I want to do that. Okay. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do that. Get rid of that one. Oh, that feels so much better, except for I don't even need that anymore. Whew. All right, we're doing JSX. Michael, you told me it was super important to have like these human-friendly names in these things. Well, you know what? First, this app sucks, man. Let's put some navigation in here for crying out loud. We told you we could do that, so let's put in a p tag here, and let's say I'm going to give you a link to their blog page. Remember, the routes can create hrefs, right? So let's create an href here to the blog page. When we go to that, let's go to that page. Let's add some navigation through to. Actually, what I want to do here is I want to just put in like a footer. I want to make some navigation through to we'll go back to the home page. We're also going to have like a list of our posts in here. We'll do that one. Again, type safe URL generation there. We're going to have a list of the posts here. And then let's go through to here, and let's make this one. This one will link like back to the blog page. We'll link back to the home page as well. Yeah, how about that? Okay, cool. Blog, post, blog, home, blog. Okay, cool. So so far so good. Notice what we've got is when we use these patterns to match, we can also use these same patterns to generate URLs all over our app, right? So we're not using strings anymore, or weird strings, interpolating things. What benefits does this provide? So, I've been telling you these names are important. At some point, somebody on your team might come along and decide, you know what, that's not the blog post route, that's the blog show route, and they're going to want to rename it. They're going to want to rename a route, right? So let's rename that symbol. And you'll notice that, like, the blog handler name automatically updated. Why? TypeScript is doing static analysis on this code, right? We told it that this object is a type of route handlers for the routes object that we have up above. You change a property in one place, we're going to update the property on the object that's supposed to match it, right? So type safe refactoring. Where else are we using that object? We're also using the blog it used to be the blog.post object, it's now the blog.show object in the blog posts page, right? So refactor, change up the link, right? Refactoring your app just got a lot easier when your links and your route handlers are referencing actual objects instead of just like strings, weird IDs, things like that. All right, cool. What if somebody comes...
Michael, does it work the other way? What if I'm on the link and I want to rename it back to post?
Oh, yeah. So I could rename that like Ryan.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
There it is. Blog.Ryan. Yeah, it totally works the other way. Those things are linked, right? I mean, thank you. In relation to what we were saying earlier, like static analysis of your routes. right? That's what's important here, right? You want to be able to look at your route tree and you want to be able to immediately infer information about what routes are available. Are my links broken? Are my route handlers busted? Okay. What if somebody comes in here and they want to they're like, that's not an ID, that's a slug. Is our app currently busted? Well, the link is broken and our app now fails to compile because we have type safe links, right? So update that. What about the blog show route? Is that thing busted? Well, yeah, that thing, it's expecting a slug now. We were expecting an ID. Swap it out. Our app compiles now, right? So type safe URL generation, type safe parameters as well. Cool. So those are kind of some of the major benefits that we're after with using like the human readable names or human friendly names. What else do we want to do to this router? Should we do like we should do like a you know what stinks actually is like we're just using like static. Let's pull in like a database. Okay, just using a little SQLite database. Let's swap some things out here. Let's go to the index page, and let's say let's grab our posts, and let's say I want to map over all the posts here. And then in this one, I want to grab the post with the slug. And if we don't have the post, I'm going to return a not found. Otherwise, I'm going to return some stuff here. I'll just make this a div. Cool. Okay. That was from when I was practicing earlier. Give me a sec. I should only have one in there. Is it? Wait, what did I do? Do I have an extra? I do. Okay, we're good. An LI inside an LI? That's not going to pass the XHTML. I put one of those little badges on my site in the footer anymore. That'd be a bummer. Okay, cool. So type safe routing. We're using a real database. Let's do a create, because I'm always kind of annoyed when somebody shows a demo like this and they just show like reads all the time and they don't show like mutations. Like how does this router going to handle mutations? How is this structure going to hold up? Let's have a new page, and then let's have a create page. Okay. I want the create to happen when I post to the blog route. But you'll notice that it's the same route as I'm using for the index page, but the other one's a get. This one's a post, right? So what I want to do is I want to get a little more descriptive with these things. I'm going to say you're a post. I'm going to say you, sir, are a get. We might as well just go through the rest of them and make them all super descriptive, right? If you look at your routes map now, it's very descriptive about what you've got in there, right? It's very easy to see and statically analyze, again, what's going on in my routes config. You'll notice that handlers is upset and the map is upset now because it's saying, hey, you're missing new and create in here. You told me you're going to have new and create. You should have them. All right, sorry. Let's make them. Let's have a new page. And then we'll have a create page. All right, so how are we going to do this? This is basically, the new page is a get. Again, like we'll check this out, right? It's a get at blog/new, right? So what we need to do is show them like a form that they're going to use this to make a post, right? So let's pop down here. We can reuse the create href handler. Is that going to work? So we're going to have a title. We're going to have some content. We're going to have a create button. And then, we need to close the form, put the footer back. What did you do? There you go. You're all right. Okay, so we're going to post over to this route. So that's this one here. How are we going to get the data? Let's plumb it in through the formData prop. So we're actually going to give you, a formData instance in any route that is a post or a put or a delete or whatever. Like, we're just going to take care of that for you, right? We're going to grab it, we're going to parse it, we're going to give it to you. There's actually a lot of work went into that. If you've done any like multi-part parsing before, you'll know that there are various ways to do it. There are various libraries you can use. Some of you might have used Busboy or Formidable if you're used to using Node. We wrote something called multi-part parser, and it benchmarks way faster than both of them, especially on Bun and Dino, which are using which are optimized for the web APIs, right? So the problem is if you take a library that was built for Node streams and Node like typed array primitives, right? Like buffer or like that's not using the right binary formats. Basically, what you have to do is you have to do a bunch of like conversion between what Node is doing and what readable stream is doing, right? And that ends up slowing things down. But if you write something specifically for the web APIs and just build it from scratch and you write it specifically for that API, you can squeeze out a lot of performance. So formData parser is running behind the scenes there. You can actually you can pop in here and you can like tweak the behavior of it. You can say like, hey, in my router, I don't want you to do that. Or you can say, yeah, I want you to do it, and you can set things like max file size and all that kind of good stuff, right? So this reads kind of like almost like a php.ini file. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Yeah, you set this stuff up once, right, in your PHP ini, or you set it up in your nginx.conf, and like you forget about it, right? Because it's done, it's handled, right? The server's going to take care of that stuff. So we've got all that stuff kind of built in for you here. So we're getting the formData in here, and we're going to grab some things off of it. We're going to grab the title and the content. If they didn't give us either of those things, we're sending HTML. Let's go and create the post, and then I am going to return a redirect with a 303. That's see other. That's basically, we just made a post for you. Go over to the page where you can now look at it. You might be like, Michael, why didn't you just use Response.redirect? Has anybody ever used Response.redirect? Does anybody see any shortcomings with that API? It does let you pass a code. It doesn't let you pass other stuff. That's the problem. It doesn't let you say like, hey, I want some headers in here, and I want, like a status and header, like other stuff, right? The other thing that it doesn't let you do is it doesn't let you, and I know this is going to rub the standardistas wrong, but it doesn't let you pass a relative URL in there, which is weird because all clients, like all browsers, support relative URLs in a redirect. So like it's not a problem in practice, it's only a problem if you're a purist, and we're not. We are pragmatic, more pragmatic than that. So we got a redirect helper. That one should help you out. So these just another response generator. It's just like HTML, right? Just like HTML. Let's see. So if I go to the blog, oh, did I even have a link to the new post page? I don't even think I linked to this thing yet. Let's go to the index page, and let's say if I want to put a new post, I should have a link. There you go. Oh, we just wrote a bunch of code there. I don't know if any of it's going to work. Oh, man, my eyes. What is going on? Who did this? Jeez, must have been a weird programmer who doesn't know anything about aesthetics or beauty, doesn't appreciate it, just lives in his little den all the time. Let's put some CSS on this thing. I don't really know CSS, so I'm going to... Sure. That'll work. Sure. That'll work. Throw some rows on there. I don't know. I tweeted at Adam the other day, or something about like, oh yeah, we'll have like some support for CSS built in, and Adam was like, be careful. And it looked like with a knife emoji. I don't know what I'm supposed to make of that. I don't know. Like knife emoji? Really? All right, cool. I mean, he bought me pizza once, so I guess, you know, we'll give and take in our relationship. What just happened? Like I threw a CSS prop. What are we doing? We're server rendering. Server rendering, and I put a CSS prop on something, and then the CSS changed in the browser, right? The styles changed in the browser, right? Let's talk about this real quick. So if I look in the head, well, yeah, let's look at my form, right? My form has a class on it. Okay, I threw a class on it. I hashed some CSS. And then this is the most basic thing ever. I took the CSS, I put it in a string, and I put it in the head. That's it. That's all I did, right? Is Remix going to make it hard for you to use Tailwind? No. Like, use a class. By the way, class. Right? All right, there's your class right there. Like, we're not gonna take away your class or class names. We're not gonna make it difficult for you to use like awesome stuff, right? There's great stuff. The main reason we want to have a CSS prop is so that we can ship components and not have to be like, oh yeah, and there's this other step in the, you have to get the styles in there too, right? Like, I'm just gonna style this component with the CSS prop. It's gonna work if you use it on the client side. It's gonna work if you server render the thing. It's just gonna work. It's just gonna work out of the box, right? And then you can tweak in there, and you can get in there and you can tweak it however you want, okay? So that's all we're doing here. So don't leave here and say like, the Remix guys like forced me to do like CSS and JS and I hate it. Like you can literally do it however you want. It's just a way for us to style it. That's it, without using the style string, which would be another alternative, which we could do. You have full support for all the CSS stuff that you want here. So you got a descendant selector, and that all works totally fine. I'm gonna hide that because it's gonna trigger some folks. All right, so we've got a thing here. How many people think it's gonna work? Oh, come on.
Guys, it's Michael Jackson.
That was like 8 people. Whatever, you all are a bunch of haters. Cross.
I believe in you. Fingers.
Here we go. Well, let me check my form one more time. I did. What did I do?
Yes.
Routes.blog.create.href. It's a post. Oh, you know what I should do? I should throw one of these things on here because, sometimes you need those things. I don't know why. I think it's going to work. I'm pretty optimistic about it. Yeah, 303. All right, baby. Let's see. Why do I have to refresh the page? I changed the JS. It's fine. Okay. Cross your fingers. Here we go. I always think of the Joker when I think of that line. Woo! All right. All you haters. No. All right. No, you don't get to clap. Only the people who believed in me. All right. Okay, cool. So we're doing thank you. It's all right. We're doing a mutation here. That's pretty cool. What if we wanted to do like a file upload? Like, I don't know, blogs are boring without images, right? Like, let's put a cool image on our blog, right? Okay, cool. So in our new post page, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add like another little div here, and I'm gonna put like a cover image. I'm gonna have a file. Check out this little attribute. It's kind of a cool one. I only accept images. I like that. Okay, cool. File input. Let's go back to the blog, go to the new post page. We can see a new thing here on our form. How are we going to handle that in the handlers? So I'm going to say, yeah, get the image out of the form data. That one's going to be a file, right? A file object. How do we work with these file objects on the server? Anybody ever worked with a JavaScript file object? Anybody ever worked with that API? Anybody ever worked with it in a server context? Yeah, it's a little kind of new, right? It's like, what's going on? Well, it's like I told you. It's like I told you. The browser is the leader, and the server is the follower. It's always that way. It always goes that way in JavaScript, right? So we're just going to follow. We're just going to say, okay, so we want to keep some images somewhere. Let's import this thing. It's almost like the editor knows what I'm going to do. So we have another little library called file storage. Right? This is blob storage, right? To be clear, this is binary large object storage, okay? So we'll have adapters for S3, Cloudflare R2. This one's just a local one, just keeps files in a directory on your local machine. But this is like a necessity when you're building web apps, right? People are uploading files, people are uploading videos. You got to put that stuff somewhere, right? Okay, cool. We'll have a little image storage. We'll have that guy just kind of streaming stuff to disk. And it's got a key value API. So I come in here and I'm going to come into the create and I'm going to say, look, if we had an image, if they uploaded an image, use the post slug, right? Let's make this async. Use the post slug as the key, and here's the file object. Here's the object. Go put it in storage, please. Okay. What? Wow, cursor with the updates today. No. And then what we want to do is, on the show page, we want to show it somewhere. So let's put it like, so here's the title, here's the content. Let's put like a little div. Oh yeah. Let's do this. Let's do like this. We'll say, we'll go and grab the image out of storage. Let's make that async. We'll say get data URL. I'm gonna be lazy. I'm gonna do a data URL for this thing. One of the really, really nice properties of the file API is you have the content type built in. It's kind of nice. You need to generate a file URL, right? You've all probably pulled in a MIME type library at some point. Don't need it with the file API. It's pretty cool. Okay. Grab the image, do this. All right, let's do this. I'm going to put it in the page. Sure. Give it an image URL. Look, I'm even doing the alt tag. That's great. Let's see this. Let's refresh this. All right, how many people think this one's going to work? Yeah. The thing is, I'm really not so sure about this one. Like I was actually like pretty sure about the other one. Like that's easy, right? Like handling file uploads is like another kind of level, right? So let's see, remix. Let's say new remix logo, and I'll say Tim, what do you think? All right, so let's see. Let's pop it in there. Oh, that's beautiful right there. Really captures, I think, the essence of what we're all about. Okay, I'm going to do one more like visual scan here, just to be sure. Let's see. I'm using an ink type multi-part form data, so that thing should work just fine. I'm going to come down here into the handler. I'm going to check if I've got it. I'm going to set it. And the storage, when the show page comes back, I'm going to redirect to the show page. When the show page comes back, I'm going to read it back out of storage. I'm going to generate a URL, and I'm going to pop it into the page. Okay, I think this is going to work. Oh. Live demos, man. Live demos. Ugh. All right, so why am I doing this? Mutations, right? I remember going in and looking at like some of the very first demo. Like, I actually shouldn't say it. I'm not going to say like the name of the technology. Happy thoughts, but like sometimes you see a demonstration that like leaves out the mutation, right? And they just do the read. They just do like the happy path. I want you to know that like we're planning ahead for like the needs of real apps. Okay. At one point, I thought like Remix is like a full stack thing. It wasn't really. Like Remix actually punted on a lot of stuff. Remix was like center stack, right? Remix did, we gave you a routing layer. We used React for our components. and we told you how to get data back and forth between the two. We didn't go deep enough on the server side, and especially in a world where people are using these browser primitives on the server, right? Again, you've got readable stream. When a request comes in, the request body is a readable stream. That thing's not a node stream, right? So immediately, if you're using the fetch API on the server, immediately you're in like foreign territory if you're running on Node. And you need better tools to handle the types of things that the web apps need to commonly do. So that's the whole point of kind of going down this whole climbing up this other mountain. And this is the stuff that I've been working on now for like over a year. So we got file storage, we got blob storage, we got a new router here. If you look at this, I know we've talked a lot about MCP like this morning. HTTP and REST actually they've played a huge role in the web. I built a ton of like REST APIs. I want Remix to be really good for being able to build REST APIs. I want MCP is coming, yes, but a lot of the web runs on REST, and I think it's actually really great to have these APIs. You could serve JSON out of it to an MCP server. So I want to have first-class support for REST and building great REST APIs, as well as other kinds of APIs, server-side APIs in Remix 3. This kind of stuff gets repetitive if you're doing it a lot. We're actually going to ship a resources helper in Remix 3. And the resources helper just kind of takes a little bit of the it makes it less tedious to do a whole bunch of routes. I'm borrowing this word from the Rails world, but you'll notice that a resources helper automatically gives you like these 7 routes, right? We get the index, new, show, create, edit, update, destroy routes. We're not doing those other 3, so I'm just going to say we're only doing these 4. And now you'll notice that, I've only got those 4 routes, okay? So again, the ability to statically analyze your routes, to know what methods are available, how can I call them. We still need to build that layer on top of this, which is I want to statically analyze the inputs to my routes, which is basically the forms, right? The form information that I'm going to put in there. So tools like Sidekick can come along and analyze it and say like, oh yeah, I can see that, this route is a post or a put or a delete or whatever, and these are the inputs that you expect. Let's see, how are we doing on time? 4:38. Oh, okay. Did we want to finish by 4:30 or did we want to do the?
It's your conference. Keep going.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you wanted to finish the cycle, we could do edit, update, destroy, but I mean, it would be kind of like more of the same stuff. The only stuff that I'm really going to show you there is we have support for the full gamut of REST methods. So we're doing this like the traditional like method override thing. You've all probably seen that before if you're doing REST from HTML forms, which only support get and post. So we're planning on supporting the full gamut of HTTP verbs. And I could show you that. Or I could show you kind of our vision for like what it looks like to build a full-blown app with Remix, right? So we've seen the components, seen an itty-bitty router here in a single file. We could look at a larger app. Should we do that? All right, let's look at a larger app. Anybody use CodeIgniter back in the day? Anybody remember CodeIgniter? Yeah. That was actually one of my like favorite times. That was like one of my favorite tools ever that I used. It would let you write code like this. Like you would just get into a file, you would have like 3 or 4 or 5 different request handlers or whatever, and like your whole app was just like a single file. And I've missed that, right? So I want to be able to like scale all the way back to a single file. If that's all you need, like feel free to take this and build your site on it. Like if that's all you need is a single file, done, right? If you need to build a large app, how well does this model scale? Is the question, okay? So let me pop open my file browser here. I'm gonna close this. So all of this code is on GitHub. This is in the Remix repo. I've got a demo that uses FetchRouter. So FetchRouter is this router that we've been using. Uses FetchRouter to build like a larger app to kind of stress test it a little bit. So in the root of my app, you can see I've got like this routes routes config. Okay. So this is what it looks like to build. I'm just going to get rid of this. This is what it looks like to build a larger app with Remix 3. So you can. This is the same route map primitive that we've been looking at this whole time, right? It's kind of big, so you get some dots in there. But if you go and examine like any subset of the tree, like you can pretty easily statically analyze that as well. We've got routes in here for serving static assets and images. We've got like file uploads working in this app. We've got marketing pages. We've got this is an app for like a bookstore, right? So Shopify's e-commerce, so we're building a store with this. I've got a formAction helper. This one's kind of interesting. This one is kind of like resource and resources, except it's for just a get post pair, like a quick get post, right? A get serves me the form, and I'm going to post right back to that exact same page, right? So like the login route, for example, get login, post to login. That's a formAction. And so I've got a couple of those: login, register, forgot password, reset password, or just these little quick get post routes. But some things just to kind of help you kind of dry up the config a little bit. You'll notice that we're using like our resources helper down here on this orders route, account orders, so you can go in and figure out like, oh, who's what orders belong to this account. We've got some like API routes in here. So anyway, let's go and run this app and just kind of poke around a little bit and show you what we've got. Oh, you know what else I want to do? I want to show you one more spot on the code. So these are all the routes, right? And again, like the only thing that we're doing here is we're just assembling a bunch of stuff that we can easily statically analyze, right? Going over into the app.
Michael, can I interject real quick?
100%.
This kind of thing, since he's going to show you that the implementation's not in it, right? We've already talked about that. That's not only good for us, but this whole context we can give to things like Sidekick. And now it knows everything about your app without all the implementation gunk in the middle of it. So this is good for people, great for models as well to know what your app can do.
Totally. Thank you. Yeah, that's a big driver, major driver in the design. So then when it comes to, here's my server, right? My server is basically just going to grab my router and run it. This is router.fetch. This is what we already seen today, right? Errors that happen in the router, like in the days of async await, they can just pop right out and we can catch them, and we can send an error response if anything in the router errors or in a middleware somewhere. The router is actually, there's a lot you can do with that router. Let's take a look at the router here. So the router is where I piece together all of my implementation for my app. Okay, so I'm going to bring in some middleware. I'm going to bring in my routes, and I've got a bunch of basically just a bunch of mapping, right? I get my router, I set up my upload handler. This is the thing that I'm going to use to handle file uploads. Okay, again, like Nginx, just config style, put files here, right? I'm going to use some middleware, and then I'm just going to map all of my routes. So if I've got I've got some like books routes. I'm going to map those to these handlers objects, which are exactly like the handlers objects that we already saw in the other app that we were working on. The thing is, you can split this object up, right? Put it in a bunch of different files. So if you take these like books handlers, for example, let's check those out. So this is just going to be another, basically a route handlers for the books routes, right? If you pop into the cart routes, same idea, right? So let's see, it is, yep, update. I'm going to shrink this down so you can see kind of the shape of this object, right? So your route handlers are just, you can think about them kind of like these like controllers, right? It's just places where you can do your async work before you go and render something, okay? Places where I need to go and do some reads and writes or whatever before I'm going to handle something. You get your form data. We're going to put a bunch of other stuff on request context. This thing is pretty cool. This is like application-specific storage. It works a lot like context does and some other, like in React, for example, so you can put stuff in there and get stuff out of there in a type-safe way. So anyway, so that's kind of generally how the whole app is stitched together. Let's boot it. Let's see if it'll boot. Let's see, what branch am I on? Yeah, I think that's going to boot. I'm going to boot a little. Yeah, I got that thing running already. Should work. Famous last words, right? Should work. Work. There we go. Yeah. There we go. Let me bump it down just a little bit. Okay, there we go. All right, so we got this like little bookstore here. Let's go and check out the details on this book. Looks rad. I need this book. Shred like a god. All right. Yeah, let's pop into this route. This is our books show route. Let's see. No, this is the cart routes. Let's go into books routes. Books show this guy. Oh, sorry, I already had the image carousel. I wasn't supposed to have the image carousel in here already. So let's talk a little bit about hydration. All right, I server rendered a bunch of stuff. What's the story with hydration? Like, how do these components actually come to life on the server or on the client, right, in the browser? So you notice I popped a little image gallery in here. This component is hydrated, right? How did I do it? I dropped a component in there. Let's go and check out this image carousel component. So what are we doing? We're importing our routes. We're saying I've got a component here that is a hydrated version of this function here. This is my remix component, right? We've seen this remix handle, get my props, calling this.update. Here's my state, right? It's just a little image carousel. I've got a bunch of CSS, whatever on there, and I'm showing an image, showing a bunch of images, right? Got a bunch of images. Let's see. Where do the images come in? Function this. Oh yeah, here they are in the render time prop. I don't want to call it a render prop because we already use that. It's the props that come into your update function. Update props. That's what they are. They're update props. Okay, cool. There's no magic here. Like, that is the main thing that I want to get across in this hydration story. This hydrated function returns this component and says, hey, here's where to go and get me, right? When I load in the browser, I'm going to give you an href. I'm going to give you a URL, okay? Because I know that you're going to have to load some JavaScript in order to make me interactive on the client, okay? Here's your href right here. Again, we're just using this routes object, so whatever. You rename this thing, it'll change. It's type safe, it's fine, right? But there's literally no magic here going on at all. It's super, like, I could show you the network tab, right? All right, so when I load this page, got the images. Where is it? Here's my entry file. Here's some images. Here's my image carousel.js. Right? So like, I'm right now I'm just running a quick little like ES build that's dumping stuff in the public assets directory. Let's just plug in some stuff in there. In my routes, I'm looking for requests to /assets, which you'll notice I'm using here in my, oops, sorry. Gosh dang it, I lost it. Sorry, I'll keep it open this time. Okay, in my image carousel, you'll notice I'm using routes.assets. So like all the pieces should link together like pretty clearly what's going on here, right? Build a JavaScript bundle, load this thing up in the client, reconciler comes along and sees it and says, oh, I need to grab a bundle for that thing. Oh, the one piece that's missing, sorry, the one piece that's missing that I haven't showed you yet is the client-side entry point. So this is the thing that we give you on the client to go ahead and load modules asynchronously, okay? So again, nothing magic going on, right? You're going to get the URL of a module that you're supposed to load, and we're just going to use import. If you've got some other way that you like to load modules, go for it. If you want to do like some crazy custom code splitting thing, you go for it. Does that make sense? How the hydration story works? Okay. Let's talk about Ryan. You want to come up and join me for this part? Let's talk about.
It might break because it's my code.
Yeah. Let's talk about frame. So you notice there's a thing called createFrame in here. This is our client-side entry point. Okay. What are we going to do? What are we going to do on the client? Right. So you've heard us actually. We've been talking about iframes a lot, right? What in the world? Why would you talk about an iframe in 2025?
Well, think about an iframe, man.
Yeah. It's
awesome.
It's a pretty great primitive when you think about it. Like, think about the qualities of an iframe, right? It's a section of the page that you don't have to know anything about immediately up front in the server render. It can be totally async, right? If there's an error that happens inside it, it doesn't like escape and blow up your entire page, right? Like the iframe will contain it, right? You can, if it gets stale, right? If it's got some old content in there, you can pretty easily reload it. It knows its URL, right? So it's got like all these really nice.
Doesn't slow down the initial page either.
Doesn't slow down the initial page. Yeah, you don't have to wait.
Fragment of your UI over there and let the rest of the page render first.
Yeah, it's like this beautiful primitive that I wish did not have the problems that it does, right? So if you use iframe, like it's going to be really hard to size the thing. You know, you're going to like deal with CORS issues. Like there's problems with it, right? So when we talk about iframes, people are like, "Oh, you're so dumb. Like that's not going to work." We're not actually using iframes. We're using we're learning from iframes, right? Because if you ask yourself like where do you see all of those things in React? Does suspense have a URL? Not really, right? It's a part of the problem. It doesn't solve the whole problem. It doesn't know enough to solve the whole problem of let me, render some UI asynchronously and let me go and revalidate it if I need to.
Yeah, if an asynchronous component loaded its own data, that data can change. So how do you get the new version of that component? Yeah. And just that version of just the component, not everything else around it, not the whole page.
Yeah. So we really, really like the model of iframes, but we're not using iframes. Okay, we're gonna give you something called
R frames.
R frames. We frames. Let's check this out. So what does it look like to use one of these things? So if we go to the home page, is this the home page? Nope, it's further up. Yeah, here we go. All right, so you'll see I'm importing this frame component from Remix DOM, and I'm using it to render the three, we're going to call these book cards. These are like product cards on the home page. Let me scroll back to the home page so you can check that out real quick. Remember what that looks like. Okay, so I've got three product cards here. These things are all just a frame, right? Remember we said a frame has a URL. So where do you think it's going to get its content from? The source, right? It's going to go to the source. Because it's not an iframe, like we have total control over this thing, during the server render, we can go and say, hey, how do I resolve this frame? Right? So I can go in here and I can say, oh, sorry, I lost the, I'm going to keep that open and I'm going to go in here. Okay, so this is a function that I'm using to resolve frames on the server. Okay, we still need a little bit of work here to kind of sort out the details of what's going on here, but the basic idea is during the server render, whenever the reconciler encounters one of these frames, you set it up and you say, here's how you resolve frames. So you can either, go and resolve that you can either go and resolve that and wait for it before you send the document, or if you've got a fallback, you can probably just get it later, right? Like you either are going to block the initial server render request or response. You're either going to block that response from coming back, or if you have a fallback, we realize that it might take a while to resolve that source, and so we'll go ahead and just send the fallback. Does that make sense? So I could come in here and I could say, I could feel it here. 1000 times math.random. There we go. Okay, so this first one is going to have a fallback. Right? The first product card is going to have a fallback. The other two are not going to block the server render. Did I say that right?
They're all 1 second though, because they're all going through that same thing. So I don't know if we'll.
Oh well, some of them. Yeah, sorry, some of them are going to. Yeah. So how do I?
Yeah, just add a fallback to all of them.
Okay. All right. I could check the. Could check like the source or something that's coming through. Okay. All right. So. Yeah, okay, so there you go. Not the most amazing experience, but...
We could work on those skeleton screens.
Yeah, exactly. But the idea is like, oh, I've got a fallback, which means I don't need to wait for that thing. Like I can just go, I can send it.
And if one of those frames renders a nested frame and none of them have fallbacks, then the whole tree gets awaited. If a parent has a fallback and a child does not have a fallback, the parent will fall back and then it'll wait for the child, right? So like you can compose these frames inside of each other, and it'll do the thing that you want it to do. So it's really cool. It's like iframes are a great abstraction, and we've supercharged them where now we can actually resolve them during the server render instead of waiting for the browser to go make the request after the document loads. And then you have total control of all the async flows by either adding or removing fallbacks from frames. And that's it. That's the one toggle switch to unblock or block.
Yeah, yeah. I want to, yeah, never mind. I'm not going to say it. I was going to say something about RSC, but I wasn't going to say it. Check out this book card. I mean, it's like such a simple model. Like when you think about how to put together a page where some pieces aren't ready yet. Like that's the whole problem that we're trying to solve here. Like with, and frames just fit it so perfectly. Let's talk about book card. What are these things rendering in their book cards? What is book card doing? Well, book card is rendering a cart button. Let's take a look at that thing. That thing's a hydrated component. So if you go to this page and you say like, hey, add to cart. Oops, I need to widen my browser. Either that or just get better at CSS or just stop trying. I don't know, either one.
I like it.
That's a hydrated component, right? It's got a little bit of state. It's doing the state thing, right? I've got some state, and then if I'm if I'm in the cart, I'm going to remove. If I'm not in the cart, I'm going to add.
Michael, where'd that in-cart prop come from?
That one came from
on book card.
Yeah, from book card. Yeah.
So we don't see it here, but we've got a handler that's actually going to the session and getting the data from the cart, passing it as a prop to book card that's only rendering on the server. And then we pass that prop that the server figured out to the hydrated component, that in-cart thing.
Yeah. That I'm trying to figure out. That handler is going to be. It's going to be.
It's in fragments TSX.
This guy. Yeah. No, it's going to be. There it is. Async.
Yeah, there we go.
Right. This is where your data fetching happens, right? Well, we're going to do some async stuff. We're going to figure out whether or not this thing is in the cart.
So the thing that we're pointing to in the frame source is just another route that gets data, returns components.
Yeah, this thing. Just another route, right? Okay, yeah. So hydrated components work inside frames. So everything should compose pretty naturally as you're composing these things, right? The frames naturally compose. It really doesn't matter. You can stick a frame inside a hydrated component. You can stick a hydrated component inside a frame. You can stick a frame inside a frame. You can stick a hydrated component inside a hydrated component. Like, are you getting it? Like, it doesn't matter, right? There's no like distinction between like, oh, this stuff works in the server component and this stuff works in a client component.
Yeah, if a frame gets moved from a server component to a client component, it now just loads the frame in the client because it's got a URL, right?
Like, I'm going to be 100% honest here. Like, I do not understand RSC as well as I would like to. You might think it's because I'm an idiot. We already admitted that we're idiots. I ask questions about it all the time. What happens when I load this module? What do I get when I say import? Why can't I use this hook in this module here? You know, like basic questions, like basic stuff that I just don't get about the architecture. I would much rather have like a super simple architecture. I think frame is the right abstraction that gives me all of the things that I need. Can reload, can serve as an error boundary. It has a fallback. Like, that's the right abstraction for me personally, the right mental model for me to think about how to compose a page that's got certain pieces of deferred content.
Why don't you show them what reload actually means?
Show them what reload?
Yeah, what's the network?
What's
the streaming format when you reload a frame?
Oh, yeah. You're going to love this.
Well, why don't actually go to the handler.
Go to the handler. Yeah, let's go to the handler.
Yeah, go to the handler.
Yeah. So the cart button. Yeah, I want to click on the cart button. Yeah. Okay. So let's check this thing out. Remember how we were talking earlier about these events things, and we were talking about how like what you really want to write as a programmer is you want to write procedural code. Okay. Forget the like nested callback hell. Forget like the indirection. Like, you literally just want to write procedural code, right? I click the add to cart button. I submit the form. Okay, cool. Event prevent default. Got it. Show some pending UI. Updating true, update. Cool. Step 1, right? Next step in the procedure. Go and fetch. Like actually do the thing, add to cart, right? So the action is the route href, the method is the route method, okay? So do that, right? Submit the form data. Here's your signal. In case they're like clicking the add to cart button really fast, like those outgoing fetches are gonna get canceled, right? We're managing the asynchronicity here, okay? I actually shouldn't even have this one. That one is superfluous because this is just gonna stop if that signal gets called. This.frame.reload. So this is part of the API that we actually haven't looked at yet. There are 6 things on the Remix component API. This.frame is basically the frame that you are rendered in. Okay, if you're rendered in, you're not inside any frame. That's the root frame. Okay, you're always inside a frame in Remix. Okay, so if somebody renders you inside a frame for this add to cart button that we're looking at right now, its frame is the product card, right? The book card. That's the thing that we said was the frame. Remember, we came back here, we said frame, book card. And when rendered the book card rendered the cart button. Okay, so this.frame means go and get another book card from the server. I'm gonna click add to cart here. I want you to go and get another book card from the server, this.frame.reload, right? And then when you get back, I want you to say updating false so you can change the opacity back in this client-side state, right? Procedural code. This is how I'm going to make the fewest mistakes, is if I can just write it out one thing after the other.
And again, the frames are iframe is such a perfect concept to follow because we've got that URL, so we can actually do a granular revalidation from the server. It's not just some section of the URL or the whole page. It's like you could go all the way down and just revalidate a single button or this whole card, which is a trick I haven't seen anywhere except for iframes.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So now that you know what's going on behind the scenes, let's take a look at kind of the network. Okay, and let's go and do this. All right, so like I'm gonna get this book because it looks sick. So I'm gonna add it to my cart. You see the ad go out.
Pull your network tab all the way up before you click on it. Or maybe even pop it out so they can, because everyone's heads are gonna be in the way.
All right, let me clear that. Let me pull it all the way up. Let me increase the size. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna click the button here. The remove went out, right? The fetch went out. This is the form submitting, right? Delete this thing from my cart, API cart remove, okay? So back comes the response. This is the this.frame.reload, okay?
I'm gonna interrupt you one more time. Get rid of the overview. Click on the gear over there on the right
Thing?
corner, not that one, the other one. Yep. Then uncheck overview over there on the left. We're all over the screen.
F.
Yeah, and now go click the gear again, the blue one. Okay.
Okay.
I think they can see it now. I just really want you to see our wire format.
So what should we send over the wire?
Oh, dang it.
HTML? Really? Why would you ever send HTML over the wire in a web app? Like, do browsers understand HTML? Do browsers understand new line delimited JSON, weird like custom format thing that like only your runtime understands? Okay, Michael, you're laying it on a little thick.
What?
All right, like we're sending HTML, right? Like,
Wait. Are you just inner HTMLing that whole thing now?
This is very cool. So we actually built a hybrid reconciler, right? So sometimes the reconciler gets virtual DOM when we're passing props around and we're creating elements and replace this thing. Sometimes it gets HTML back from a server. And it's like, oh yeah, I got some HTML because a frame reloaded. It doesn't matter, right? It's just description of what's supposed to be in the page.
Show them the elements pane.
Oh yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, inspect element on.
Yep. Let's do this.
Did it.
Yeah. Actually, I need this self-help book. I'm gonna do that one.
By Britney Spears? We need to look at the pictures of that one, actually.
She's made some significant changes in her life.
Yeah, go to view details. Let's see those pictures. Yeah. That's not Britney Spears, but
it kind of looks like, anyway.
All right, this is sidebar. This is stupid.
All right. Okay, so what am I doing? I'm looking at this thing right here, right? So what am I doing? I'm going to the server, this.frame.reload, back comes HTML. What am I going to do? Am I going to like shove that into the document, this HTML string? Or can I just do the normal like DOM diffing thing that I do like any other time the DOM is supposed to?
But it's tricky because not everything's hydrated.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's check out the DOM changes.
Oh my gosh. You're supposed to clap there if you understood what was happening. Go to the network tab again, and let's look at the actual HTML instead of the preview.
Yeah. So if I click here, you see the...
Yeah, and go to the response.
The actual HTML that's coming back over the wire is this.
Yeah, so check this out down here. Scroll down to the script tag. This is what we call RSC, Remix Serialized Components. So think about when you say create element, and you get back this object, right? And that object has a type on it, and that type is a function. And then you have a thing called props, and that's whatever props were given to that element. This is a serialized version of that, saying here's the module URL and the export name. That's what you need to go get a module, right? So that you have a type, so you have the actual function. So as soon as this HTML comes back, scan through and find all those script tags, and then load those modules, and then send it through the reconciler. And we make, anyone heard of idiomorph? HTMX, you've heard of HTMX? Well, that guy made idiomorph. It's how idiots morph the DOM. And I cleared that joke with him. Carson's a great guy. And it's actually what Hotwire uses from Rails. Rails is also a big inspiration for us. So Hotwire, when it goes to the server and comes back, they use this idiomorph thing where they can take the HTML, make a document fragment, and then throw two DOM nodes at each other, the existing DOM and then the HTML that came through. And then it'll take this new node tree and then morph the real nodes to look like them. And so our reconciler does that exact thing, just like idiomorph does. We make a fragment out of this whole thing of HTML, and you can see those little comments right there, RMXH. And scroll up, you can see the opening RMXH. Yeah, go up to the one above it too. Yeah, that one. So that's a boundary for the hydrated component. So we make this document fragment. We throw it at the current frame's DOM, which isn't vnodes, it's not remix elements, it's all just raw DOM, and just start diffing. And so that's why stuff on the outside, like if we don't see it, but if we were changing the price or something, all that stuff would update granularly as well from the server as just a DOM to DOM diff. And then as soon as we find one of these comment markers, it knows, oh, this is a hydrated boundary. So it'll skip that inner stuff, grab the instance of the VDOM root for that part that's hydrated, create an element out of the script tag, and then basically just say render with this new element. And so this reconciler is switching between normal DOM diffing and VDOM diffing whenever it hits these little markers. It's super cool, and we're really excited about it. It's just such a simple model. Debugging is going to be awesome. You can see exactly what the heck came over the wire, and everything's just URLs.
So I'm a simple guy. Like, is that hard for anybody to understand what just happened up there? There's a little bit that's going on. There's a URL. You reloaded it, I guess, from the URL. Add some HTML back over the wire. That sounded a little complicated, what he was talking about, the diffing thing, but I get it. You built some tech that puts HTML in the document without just disrupting the whole thing. And that's kind of all there is to it, right? So that, by the way, that's a trick that React can't do. So anyway, that's our take on Remix server components and just using the iframe model. We're just learning from stuff that the web has already done. And I think that wraps it for today. So thank you all for coming, and thank you all for the support.